Welcome to the Dudefax podcast. We're so glad you're here. We're four guys that are united by a love for coffee, Jesus, and corny jokes. In the past, we all served in ministry together. In the present, we create podcasts to help you get through your week. And in the future, we aspire to be the granddad that teaches his grandkids to pull his finger. So if you love Java, Jesus, and dad jokes, you're going to fit right in. So sit back, relax, grab a cup of Joe, and enjoy this week's episode of the Dudefax podcast.
All right, guys. How is everybody doing? Welcome
Taste the biscuit.
to the Dudefax podcast. We are getting ready to cast off into the vast openness that is the uncharted waters of the Dudefax podcast, where you never know what terrible atrocity lies just around the horizon.
They spanked my bears.
Yeah, exactly that. Today, we're going to have fun during this first half. That's what we do. But we're also want to make sure you know that our topic later on, we're going to be talking about suicide and just kind of its rates within the military and what's going on there, what's leading towards that. Most of us here have some sort of background, either in our immediate family or extended family of people who are in the military. Several of us live in a military town. One of us works on a military post. So it's something that we just wanted to hit on tonight or today, whenever you're listening to this. We don't really know. But this first half is going to be fun. We've got some neat things going on. One of the greatest things happening tonight is we have special guest with us. This is longtime listener, dad joke, amateur, but in training, Ethan Stewart. Ethan, welcome to the podcast, man.
Thank you.
It's good to have you. Why are you here?
I smell Heaven's Bakery cooking up something good for you, sister.
I think we're going to laugh more than Ethan. So Ethan has been a listener to the podcast for a while, and he actually is dating my oldest daughter. So
I am.
What?
I am.
Yeah.
I am, yeah.
Oh. So this whole podcast is actually just going to be an inquisition.
Is it okay to call him son?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Can we call you Dad?
Yeah, you call me Dad. I prefer Dad.
Yeah.
I think Ethan should call you Dad.
Thanks, Dad.
Yeah, you're welcome. We're going to talk later.
Okay, cool. I was hoping, actually.
Yeah. Ethan's a great guy, and Ethan's actually working towards going to boot camp at the end of the year, training to be a Marine.
I am, yeah.
Am I allowed to say Semper Fi to you? Or is it like only Marines can say it to Marines?
It's a great question. I have no idea.
Okay, you'll learn that.
I'll learn that.
America!
I should have learned that from my dad, but I'm not sure.
Text him real quick. See if I'm allowed to say that.
I don't know.
So yeah, Ethan's on. It's good to have him, and the whole crew is here. Man,
Yeah.
2 weeks in a row.
Yo,
Jeff,
yeah.
Ryan, Grant.
It's a rarity.
It's a lot of
Yeah.
good smells in this room.
There are a lot of good smells. And I think there's a lot of good
Chick-fil-A
smells
over here.
in Grant's garage based off what we heard earlier. So,
What?
We have the pictures to prove it.
we do. Make sure you're checking out our socials. So since the last time we recorded, yeah, there it is.
Oh, yeah.
Alec, it's my underarms.
My dreams will be blessed tonight, so I'm good.
Hey,
Clip
can
that.
Can you put that back up there for just a second?
Let's see
You got
here.
that?
Oh, yeah.
You got that?
Look at my sexy gorgeous.
Notice how red
Come
my
through.
face is.
I was on free. Oh, I need to mute my computer.
I was gonna say,
Look at
none
my
of us heard
sexy
that.
body.
There we go. It was still coming through. I didn't know how. But since the last time we were all together, we've had 2 birthdays. We did talk about it last time. Thank you, Grant. And so Jeff had his birthday on the 1st.
The
Right.
30th.
The 30th, yeah.
30th
That's right.
September.
That's right.
Yep.
And yours was on the 3rd. So
Third.
just a couple.
baby.
So I figured we needed a little bit of an update on how your birthdays went, or if you were properly celebrated for making it another year.
Yeah, we went camping, and I got to wake up, get out of my tent early in the morning, make a cup of coffee by a campfire,
Oh, that's fun.
and sip on it and hear owls hooting. It was quite wonderful. And then I came home later that night and we ate hibachi,
Ooh.
which was just delicious.
Yeah.
And we got some. I got some cool gifts. My wife got me a lot of clothes. Kids got me some cool stuff. But I got this interesting contraption from my sister. Because I'm a runner, this actually is a pad that massages your feet by sending like pulses through your bare feet. And it has 19 different levels. So you can start off at level 1 and you can barely feel it. But when you get to level 19, it feels like borderline electric chair.
Doctors using witchcraft on me to get the fire off me!
Yeah, I was wondering if somebody should try this out live on the podcast.
Oh, okay.
And maybe we can get it all the way up to as much as they can handle.
Maybe we should vote. Everyone for Ethan, raise your hand.
Yeah!
Oh, Ethan voted for us.
All right.
I was going to say, what better to have our special guest do than to electrocute his feet?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So I'm gonna go
Hey,
ahead and
first
turn
he
it
should
to
wash his feet and
massage.
not dry very well.
So
What?
you do have to do this barefoot. you do have to do this barefoot, by the way.
Oh man,
Lose the socks.
Here,
I got Bowser socks on.
I am going to remove my headphones and step away from the mic for a minute so I can help Ethan. So here we go.
Okay. Do I need to remove mine? I guess. Oh
To put socks on?
no,
Or to
take my
socks
socks off.
You-
I don't. Well, I gotta scoop that. Oh, Mike.
If you want to be like unencumbered by the cord of the head.
All right, so it's me, Ryan, and Grant for a bit.
all
So
Well,
let's
you two,
talk about,
Hold on. I got.
let's
you
talk about
know-
Jeff and Ethan. What really annoys you most about them?
What annoys you about me?
Nothing. Crickets.
I say
There's nothing.
the only thing that I'm focused on is Grant's mustache.
Grant, that
you're
is.
welcome.
Nice. I like it.
Is that wife approved?
No, she hates it, but she hasn't said anything about it. And as soon as she does, it comes right off,
Okay.
and it survived 2 weeks so
All
far.
right, Ethan's going. Here.
Oh,
All right, so it's on level 1.
Just put my feet on?
Yep. Just put your feet on. Do you feel anything right now? Probably not.
No.
Okay. We're just going to slowly work it up.
Hey, do you want me to
Level 2.
do that so you can be on the mic?
Oh, it's all right.
He's
Okay,
got
you got
Just in case it cuts off.
Oh, okay. Y'all.
I can hear him.
Hi.
yeah, Sharon.
Oh.
You starting to feel it?
Oh, it's only level 4.
It's only on 4.
Four. And how many
Oh.
levels does it have?
19.
19.
Okay.
What's that thing
So
called?
does it feel too bad? I mean, is it okay?
No, I mean it just feels like that moment you know that your feet are or a limb's about to go numb. That's what it feels like.
Oh, like that
It's like
tingly
right
feeling?
before.
We're going to
Yeah.
bring it up to 6 here.
Okay.
Is this kind of like when husbands put the machine on that helps them see what a contraction feels like?
I want to
Maybe,
know.
I mean, we can put it on your stomach.
Okay.
See how it's going.
I don't know. I don't have feet on my stomach. So I don't
Put
know.
it on his face.
8?
It actually feels nice.
Yeah, okay.
It's not terrible.
You can actually see it pulsing through your feet.
Yeah, I can feel it like
Yeah.
in my
You
shin
can
right
see it
here.
pulse through his feet.
And so you guys can't see this, but Ethan's got some nice
Oh, yeah.
feet here.
He's got some hairy feet.
Yeah.
I do.
I mean, it looks very Frodo-ish.
Yeah, I was about to say that
Yeah.
he looks like he just walked out
Been
the Shire.
traipsing through the Shire all afternoon.
All right, now we're up to level 10.
I mean,
Ethan's taking this like a champ. I think we can get all the
it
way.
feels nice.
I think we can get all the way to 19.
I can. It's mainly I can feel it in like my ankle shin area. Oh man, that looks weird.
We're about to start seeing like your feet and like lower leg
Are you
muscles
actually
just
moving your
contract.
feet?
No, I'm not.
You're not moving your
No,
feet right now?
it's moving my feet.
I feel like we
I
should've
think
had
it's
some
like the
music or something.
muscles.
Is this a
It's
Ouija
like
board?
The muscles. Oh gosh,
All right, we're up to 17.
I'm not.
I mean, his
I
feet
am
are
not
really
moving.
moving here.
You're not doing that?
No, that's not me. I'm just.
I really wish we had this
Oh,
on video so the one YouTube
All right,
watcher could see.
this is all
I can
the way
record
up.
it.
Would have thought about it. I should have
To,
pulled it up on
19.
my phone.
Record my feet. There we go. That's a.
Well, can we launch a second camera real quick?
Yeah. we got to get this for the viewers.
Yeah.
It's just weird.
All right, viewers, talk amongst yourself for a second.
Tyler and David need to see this.
Yeah.
They're going to want to try it.
And
I'm starting to feel it like in my calves now. It's like up here. I don't know. I wonder if I can like just keep my feet on the ground if I have to be like down here.
This music is nice.
Not my music.
Can y'all hear the music?
yeah,
I can barely.
I can barely hear it.
All right,
Yeah.
all right. Join the second camera. Let's see if this works. Join this camera. Let's see now.
Oh,
Okay.
I don't see it.
Okay, it doesn't show up on there, but it should show up. All right, here we go. Can
There
y'all
we
see it?
I'm not moving my feet. It's just
That's why. Look how hairy those things are.
$30.
thank you.
So you're welcome to keep this throughout the episode.
I
keep
think
it going.
I'm good. It might distract me a little
Yeah,
bit.
let's see how long you can go.
Oh, that feels weird. Okay,
I don't think you're supposed to go longer than 10 minutes.
10 minutes.
At least that's what.
I can start feeling it up and through my knees. It's just shocks that go through.
We don't need Ethan to not be able.
I want to say so many things right now.
So should we?
What did he say?
Said he wants to say so many things right now.
All right, I got a 10
Me
minute.
too. Me too.
10-minute timer on 19.
19. Oh, what? Huh?
Yeah, so
What?
we got a 10
Well, hold on.
10
Set it 2 minutes down because it's already been on there for a little bit.
All right, we'll crank it down to 14.
It's 14. Okay. Well, I gotta
We'll check back in.
reset.
I don't know how to take minutes off, but I can add minutes easily.
Oh, don't do that.
All right, here we go.
Well, it's good to be back.
We'll do 7 minutes for you. All right,
Okay.
Weird being on that side of the room.
we're rolling. All right.
Oh, man, I
So
like that.
if anyone is still with us,
Yeah.
we're going to see how that goes. Crazy kind of thing to do on here. So welcome, Ethan. It is good
Hi.
to have you. So Ryan, what about your birthday?
Before I get that, I just want to say for our Spotify listeners, they loved that whole past 10 minutes just now.
You're welcome to
I
Spotify.
listen through Spotify, so it's like I have no idea what's
No
going
idea.
on.
So do you get frustrated?
No,
Right
not
at the
really,
time?
because then I print shirts, and so I have nothing better to do. So recently I've just been sending it up on the glue bottle that I have there, and I'll just watch all the stuff I've missed that is visual.
Okay. So you
Cool.
can get us free T-shirts. That's what I heard.
Yeah.
Lucky, but not for me.
Okay.
Somebody's got to pay.
Somebody's
for it.
paying for
Somebody's got to pay for it. Yeah.
We won't say they're from you.
it. There you go.
Yeah.
How those feet feeling? You got 6 minutes left.
No, I got a cramp in my calf.
Ooh.
It's like my lower calf. It's like getting a workout. Like, you know when you do calf raises?
You're gonna be like super.
what it feels
sore
like.
tomorrow morning.
Oh man.
I only did it for like 5 minutes the other
Oh,
day.
you've already done it?
And,
Okay,
And I
okay.
woke up sore.
You just for 10 minutes?
He has to be in a wedding on Saturday, walking down the aisle. We'll see how fun.
And I got to be in boots
So-
too.
Oh, yeah.
Ethan, if you wake up with some funky foot disease, just know that Jeff has used that first.
Yes. And my kids.
Oh,
And I put it on my dog.
so I know who I'm
It's just being
suing. Good to
passed
know.
around.
Good to know.
Where,
I'm on my
where on
feet,
your
like-
dog?
8 hours a
But
day.
if you get some like BioFreeze or Icy Hot,
60% of the time, it works every time.
All right, so what was I gonna say about my birthday? Um,
Back to me.
no, just
Yeah.
trying to.
We know it's all about you, Ryan.
I mainly just want to show this picture. So my birthday was Tuesday, and we went to me and my wife, some friends. We went to Camacho's
Oh, yeah.
to have some deep dish pizza, and we got it. And we inadvertently were there for trivia night, which is apparently every Tuesday at Camacho's. So we decided to sign up for trivia and play while we were there. And we did get third place, which was nice. We probably would have gotten like second or first place because the very last question is basically like a 4-part question. And if you got any part of it wrong, you lost all the points you wagered. You could do a max of 20 points. Well, I was like, go big or go home. So I was at 20 points. We're either going to win this or we're going to lose it. So we ended up losing 20 points.
Oh, bummer.
Because not only, so it was like 4 different things. You had to organize them between like the biggest to smallest, essentially, numerically. So it was like, one was like the amount of seasons that Babe Ruth had, 40 home runs or more. One was like the wingspan of a fish owl. I don't know,
African swallow.
Yeah, something like that. One was some movie that has the most Oscars ever. How many Oscars it has, and then there was another one that was like the Weeks of the Old Town Road was number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100. And so
Trolls 2.
not only did we get the order wrong of those, I misheard the rules and I listed them backwards from what they wanted. So we were
Oh, you're
completely
way off.
wrong.
Did you have it correct, just backwards?
No, we were off on one of them because I thought that I was like, surely the movie with the most Oscars did not have more Oscars than Babe Ruth had 40 plus home run
Yeah.
seasons, and I was wrong.
So you're like the guy on Jeopardy that like wagers all his money at the
Oh,
very
yeah.
end,
Yeah.
and like gets it wrong.
Because I mean, if you're
Yeah.
not going to win big, there's no reason to
Yeah.
play.
You got like $8,000. You give like 7,999.
Mm-hmm. Yep,
You
exactly.
at least have $1.
So, also,
So what place did you come?
As we were playing this, my friend, Tyler, listener Tyler, he told them it was my birthday, and they shouted me out on the trivia mic.
Yeah.
And then, so the restaurant brought me a birthday cannoli free of
nice.
charge.
Wow, nice.
And this is how it arrived at the table. Just they tried to write "Happy Birthday" on there, and
Bag of wolves.
It looks,
it looks kind of like a crime scene.
yeah.
And I think there was already a bite taken out of it.
Or they had a third grader in the back who did that.
That could have been. I think it also rolled around. I think they didn't realize that
Yeah.
cannoli is round, and
Could have been the owner's son.
Roly cannoli.
But so yeah, so that was my birthday. It was fun. My wife, she usually tries to make me a cake or something on my birthday, but I told her, I was like, you know what? I just want some really good chocolate chip cookies this year.
Oh yeah.
And she made like enough chocolate chip cookies to feed an army. I felt like I was swimming in them for
Perfect.
days.
Mm.
Yeah.
That's funny because I told my wife I didn't want a cake. I was like, I want peanut butter pie. And she went and got some at the chopping block.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. I could have swam in some of that
Man,
stuff.
that's
That
delicious.
stuff.
Hey, how
We're
much
glad-
time is left?
We're glad you guys are still with us.
You're like, my feet are still here.
I was
Oh,
went off
well,
like
we're-
10 minutes ago.
Let's see. Where are we on this timer? I'll close it down. All right, we're at a minute and 10 seconds.
Oh man.
We're almost there.
We did have to punt sex.
So such an out of context.
few
Okay,
of them
so before we find out what's going on with this feat, so
Nothing
we're
good.
again we're about a quarter of the way already through the NFL season, which is crazy to think about. So thought we'd do a little update on where our favorite teams are because it looks like we should all be in a deep dark
Oh
depression
man.
for some reason. I think we should start with Grant because he's the worst. Grant, you're a Bears fan, right?
They
Yeah.
spanked my Bears.
Yeah. So they're 0-4,
Yes.
and they snatched defeat from the jaws of victory this past weekend. Did you watch that game?
what am I?
Did you watch that game? Stinger?
I left church when the Bears were winning. I think it was 28-7. By the time I got home, it was 28-28. Oh, let's pause.
Okay, hold on a second.
Oh my gosh. Hallelujah. Oh, praise the
There
Lord.
we go.
Oh. I'll turn this
How do
thing
they feel?
off. I'm
Can
trying
you
to-
feel them?
I can, and I'm trying to figure out how to turn this thing off. I'm just gonna put it over here for now.
Yeah.
You might want to watch those after.
Are your feet still twitching?
They're definitely feel like they need to be massaged afterward. I don't
Just
think that's
that
gonna
thing
do
will
anything.
probably help. It's got electric pulses.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I,
There's
might,
actually
I might have to use
8
the one.
other
at one time.
modes. So
Okay. Well,
if
I
anybody else wants to use
If
it,
you just
while
take
we're,
it with some duct tape and just wrap it around your calf, and turn it on for 10
That
minutes.
sounds
that'd
like
be all right.
just some
Yeah.
awful prank that you would do.
Lucky.
You wake somebody up
Welcome to the
with
podcast.
it.
All right, so speaking of horrible things to do to people, the Bears.
Oh yeah.
Where were you on that, Grant?
the Bears.
Oh, they just suck. And then
Simple.
and Dick Butkus died
there.
today.
Who died?
Can you hear me?
Did you say died?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Dick Butkus.
Okay. Dick Butkus died today.
Did he really?
Yeah, I got
Really?
that notification
Oh,
like
man.
an hour ago.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
Oh man.
the Bears.
Yeah.
Best name in football history.
Yes.
Yeah.
Passed away today at 80. I have a cameo from him from 2020, I believe it was. Pastor Appreciation Month gift.
That's awesome.
Super cool. Actually, no, it's 2019. He shouted out my pregnant wife who was expecting Sigrid at the time. It's pretty
Oh,
cool.
nice.
Oh.
Dick Butkus.
I have a question.
So
is he born a Richard, or is he naturally named?
I think he was a Dickard.
Because why didn't he choose Rich Butkus?
Oh, he became very rich.
Or Charred Butkus.
I had a friend growing up whose name not was but still is Richard Beard, and so
the name
he never went by Richard.
Yeah.
He was
Lucky.
always called by first and last name.
When we were in Hawaii last, which was 2 years ago, with Erica's whole family, we were at a dinner and they were doing like this text in your shout outs number. And it was a more conservative place, the people that owned it. And it gave me so much delight when they said, "Oh, we got one more birthday. We want to say happy birthday to Mike Crotch."
They did.
So every year on December, I forget what it is, like November something, we have a reminder in the family to say happy birthday to Mike Crotch. He's like, "Oh, they got us. They got us good." Yeah. Yeah, I did.
I'm glad he realizes that.
Yeah.
Well, at least you have that to hang on to while your Bears probably go completely defeated.
They're playing as we speak right now. We're recording this on a Thursday, and they're
they are
losing.
playing.
Who are they playing?
Yeah, they're losing to
The
Washington.
Commanders.
The commies. The Washington commies.
Man, I can't believe we're missing that great action.
Well, you can just keep
Commanders.
us posted on the score as we go through.
Oh, I shall.
Well, at least you've got the Cubs. Oh, wait.
Oh,
Yeah, they missed out too.
Ouch.
I mean,
the
it's
Cubs.
about like the Red Sox. So.
Yeah, and the Cardinals are all playing in the non-playoffs together right now, except for the Rangers.
I got the Rangers.
You got the Rangers.
Yeah. Rangers. Woo!
Okay, so we move from the Bears to the Patriots for Jeff and Ryan. It's your guys' favorite team.
Yeah.
1-3, but their losses have been to pretty good teams, though.
That's true. They actually didn't disappoint me too much until this last week. And when Mac Jones just turned into, I don't know what, Justin Fields. It was bad. But they looked good against the Eagles. And then they played the high-powered Dolphins and almost beat the Dolphins.
Yeah.
And then they beat the Jets, which everybody does.
But then they barely beat the Jets.
But the Jets have a great defense.
That's true.
So it's no small task to, just go out. I mean, that they almost beat the Chiefs the other night. So the Jets aren't bad. They just don't have an offense right now without a quarterback. But, then they just laid a stinker against the Cowboys. And Cowboys are another one of those teams that you just never know if they're that good or not. It's like everybody's so high on them, and they go and play great, but then they go lose to the Cardinals.
Oh,
And
yeah.
you're like, what? Who is this?
I mean, the Cowboys are a team that they could have the entire season just be amazing. They get to the first round of the playoffs and just
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Because that's kind of what they do.
yeah, that's their MO.
Their thing. Right. How are you handling the Patriots this year?
I'm handling it okay. I've just pretty much gone back to my Patriots fan state of like my preteen years. So pre Brady, yeah. So it's I've pretty much just resorted back to that where I'm
Pre-deflatriots.
I root for them and I watch the games, but I'm not terribly disappointed if they lose because I don't expect them to win. So.
That's low expectations.
Yeah, exactly. That's what
But when
keeps
they
you
do
happy.
win, it's
Exactly.
good,
When they do
yeah.
win, it's a nice surprise.
Yeah,
So-
yeah. Kind of like the Saints. So
Oh
Ethan
my
is a
God.
Saints fan.
By the way, Patriots
Why?
Saints this week.
Yeah.
let me tell you, man.
'Cause they're
the
2-2.
Saints- I didn't watch
you
the
Catholic?
last game. No, actually. But no, I didn't watch this last game because I was like, they're playing the Bucks. Surely we'll win. No. But they play. So my dad and I, we watched. He's a big Saints fan too. He used to work for Advocare and became a Saints fan because Drew Brees was
He was a rep.
for
right?
sponsoring. Yeah.
So
That's how I started being a Saints fan. But we watched the game against the Packers. 3/4 of the game in, we're in a 17-0 lead. We're doing amazing. Derek Carr gets hurt, our quarterback, and they bring in Jameis Winston.
Yes.
He
He's
is
too busy eating chicken wings.
not a good quarterback. I do
Buffalo
not
wings,
like
whatever it
him
was.
at all. Derek Carr got a shoulder injury. So they brought him in. I was like, we're going to lose. 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter. The Packers score 18 points. And we miss the field goal by like 2 inches. And I was like, oh my gosh.
Those are painful.
I like the ownership.
It was-
We
Yeah, no. I'm the man of the team. That's what I do.
He's just a salty Bears fan right now. It's okay. So I'm a Titans fan, and one of the Saints' wins was actually week
Was
one
against the Titans,
over the
yeah.
Titans. And so the Titans, they're kind of like that team right now. Again, you don't know what you're going to get. They played the Browns, who has a great defense. And
could you say that more like Forrest Gump, Josh?
They play.
Laughs like a box of chocolates.
You never know what you're gonna get.
Oh, I'm with you.
Come on, come on.
But so they're up and down. You just don't know what offense is going to show up out there. And I feel bad for Derrick Henry. I think they should just let him go at the end of the year so he can actually do something good.
The Titans beat pretty good teams, and they lose to horrible
That's
teams.
what they do.
Right.
Why is that?
Yeah. I don't know.
They get so hyped up, and I think that they just bring that high in, and then as soon as they get halfway through the game, they're just like, nah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
from what
last
I've
year
seen.
they couldn't do anything in the second half. Like first half.
No, it was
great.
But their whole division is 2-2.
Yeah.
Which is pretty
Yeah.
awesome.
But then you've got Houston and Indy that actually look like they could do something, and the team that everybody thought was probably going to win it, Jacksonville, is like, well, what's happened to
Yeah.
Lawrence?
They're like Pixar.
Yeah.
What's up with that? Did you guys watch that?
Oh, the
The Pixar game.
the Toy Story
Yeah.
game. Now, my wife saw it. She said it was really fun.
I watched a little bit of that before church. My favorite part was at the very beginning. They had the players running out in the field, and one of the players' jerseys said unknown. So I guess whatever computer program they had to read
It didn't
their
have.
jerseys, they didn't have this guy's loaded
honestly.
into the program. So it said
Default.
unknown.
Yeah.
This guy wasn't listed to play until
No.
that morning.
Yeah.
He was a bench warmer.
So hopefully, NFL season improves for all of us. So speaking of things that are disappointing, Ryan, you want to share with us some comments?
Oh, yeah.
that we had.
Disappointing or disappointed? That's
Yeah.
what
Time for
comments
comments.
People are just disappointed in us.
Okay, so we'll let's start out here with the resurgence of Detroit Babe on
Where you been, girl?
on
Detroit.
TikTok. So she posted on the post for my birthday and said, "Happy birthday, Ryan! Enjoy your day."
Oh, yeah.
And I feel weird with being on a first name basis.
Yeah.
there.
Right.
Well, you don't even know her first name unless
Yeah,
it's actually
exactly.
Detroit.
It's
Maybe
Detroit.
her name is
Detroit.
Detroit.
yeah.
It's
It's on her birth
babe.
certificate.
She's
It
such
just
a
says
Lions
Detroit.
fan that she just wanted to go by Detroit. So yeah, I think Detroit Babe is sweet on Ryan.
She sent you some
Yeah, watch out.
emojis on there too, right?
Yeah.
What were they?
I'm thinking those are both alcoholic beverages.
Big
I
kiss.
think Brenda
Big
needs
hug.
to send her a message.
Just
Little kiss.
That's my
Hey.
man.
hug.
stay away from him.
He's taken.
So let's move to Tyler. We got some words from Tyler.
Hi, Tyler.
So Grant's dad joke last week. Tyler said that might be Grant's best joke yet.
What was my
I
joke?
don't remember it at all.
Bag
Grant,
of
what was
wolves.
that one?
That was the one about the taxi driver making people.
Oh,
afraid.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, that's right, that's right, yeah.
That
The
one
preacher
was
put
good.
people
That one
asleep.
was good.
They're all good, okay?
Well, okay.
And then I guess let's see. We talked a lot about last week about dumb things that we spent money on. So on our TikTok about that, Olivia Phillips
Who's that?
said on TikTok.
Hey, don't say anything.
Taste the biscuit. Taste the goodness of the biscuit.
I know.
She's the daughter of Daddy.
Wonderful man he is too.
Because it's like a pudding.
It's like,
But so anyways, Olivia.
I'm gonna be in trouble tonight.
We said every once in a while I get super interested in a random topic, movie, character, etc., and I want to buy merchandise that revolves around said thing. But after a few weeks go by, I no longer am interested on whatever that thing was, so I feel like I wasted my money on random crap. And I have definitely been there. many times throughout.
That is
my
a
life.
100% true statement.
Yeah. Who knows that is more true, you or Ethan?
Well,
It's probably about the same.
Yeah.
I've known it for 20 years, but you've known it for 3, right?
2.5,
2.5?
almost 3. There'll be 3 in.
Well, y'all met when? In 2020?
No, we met
was right at the beginning.
February of 2021.
I thought it was right at the beginning of COVID.
No, it was more towards like the
second
end.
year. Okay. So
Yeah, it was more like January because we had done that Discord thing with all of our friends, and that's how we met.
Okay. They met online.
Yeah,
Discord.
it's a weird. I don't know if y'all want me to talk about that after you're done with the comments, but
Sure.
Sounds like a 21st century love story.
Yeah, it is. It's very Gen Z.
So then I'll also say Tyler on this same video said, when I bought a Dudefax shirt and then turned around.
Yes.
This is one of my favorites.
The only two
Yeah,
ever made.
baby.
And then we'll for my last comment, we'll say on our story about the Florida man throwing an alligator through the Wendy's drive-through window, we had a comment from our very own Ethan here. Said me in a Wendy's right now waiting.
I was in a Wendy's this morning. I was like, I wonder if it'll happen today in Clarksville, Tennessee.
You were at Wendy's. Does Olivia know?
Oh,
She did actually. I was. I got her a 10-piece chicken nuggets and didn't them to work.
This is from my fiery redhead.
Dave's daughter.
Yeah.
Is Wendy Dave's daughter? Is that the?
I think so.
That's my assumption.
Yeah.
I noticed like there was Dave's name. I was like, who is Dave? I had no idea because I never noticed Dave until like
He was an orphan.
They had Dave's name, like it just said Dave's on like a computer screen. I was like, who's Dave?
Well, he was still alive when I was a kid, so I remember him, but he may have been gone by the time.
I had no idea. Well, that was my first time ever seeing like the
He
name
used to
Dave
be in like
Wednesday.
every Wendy's commercial. You saw Dave.
I probably saw him at one point. I just didn't put 2 and 2 together.
Okay, I just Googled, is Wendy still alive? I think that's just false advertisement there.
That is not.
Yeah.
Somebody had a glow up.
I will say, I mean, that's more accurate for the food they sell.
There is Wendy and Dave. With an Olin Mills church directory shot.
Yeah, I was about
there.
to say, that looks like my family took a picture in front of that same background at one point.
Ryan, I think that comment may be one of my favorite ones.
That's definitely going to be a singled out clip. But Wendy is still alive, just so you know.
Oh, how old is she?
So her food has not killed her. 1961, so 52?
Wow.
Or no,
She
yeah.
eats at Taco Bell.
62.
Yeah, I was like, my dad just turned 60. He was born in 63.
Does it have her birthday on there?
It just said, let's take a look. Because we can totally Florida man her.
Yeah.
Oh.
September 14th, so happy belated birthday, Wendy.
Hey.
All right.
Melinda Lou Wendy Thomas Morse.
That is too long for me to
All
remember.
right, wait a
I'm just
minute.
going to keep calling her Wendy.
Yeah, you need like a Morse code to figure that out.
Wendy, I'd also like to apologize for the comment that I made about her.
Get this. She went to the University of Florida.
Hey.
Oh,
So we
wow.
can Florida man.
Huh, okay.
All right. Hey, Wendy, if you're listening, Ryan apologizes because we would love for Wendy's to be an advertiser of the Dudefax or a sponsor. We would eat your food. live
As you
on
can
the
tell,
podcast.
I don't have a whole lot of room to talk, okay? I'm a proud patron of Wendy's for many years.
They sell biggie bags, okay? Sounds like a nickname.
So I put in Wendy's birthday. Shirtless Florida man travels to Myrtle Beach to headbang during Hurricane Florence.
That's very American. More
Yeah,
American
you
than
the
Florida.
appropriate thing to do during a hurricane.
America.
Right.
Well, Miss Wendy, you have now arrived because you've been mentioned on the Dudefax with your 5 last night.
That's it. She's peaked, guys.
Yeah, she has.
It's all downhill from here.
Just enjoying all this free
Hey,
advertising.
speaking of things going downhill, it's time for our dad joke, and it's going to be provided today by Mr. Ethan Stewart. Ethan is said he was an amateur. He's an aspiring dad joke, teller. He's had some good ones. He has submitted some to the podcast. We've read them. So we thought since you were on that you should bring
Pressure's on.
the dad joke. But what we're going to do is a little different since Grant is like the
Dad joke.
extraordinaire. We've asked him to give you some pointers.
Okay.
At the end, he's going to kind of critique it a little bit. So, not to put any pressure on you or make you nervous, but he's going to be listening with a critical ear to this.
I'm comfortable. I'm comfortable hearing your dad joke as long as it's not an expectant dad joke. Know what I'm saying?
Oh man.
Know what I'm saying?
I don't know.
Is there anything you need to tell me?
Bet you didn't expect that.
No.
Okay. All right. So let's. We need his music here, so he gets.
I like music.
Yeah. So you got to read it in like this line with
Breathy.
Okay.
Pretend you're talking to Olivia.
way to make this uncomfortable.
Oh, it's been uncomfortable.
I don't want my act up like this. A young camel curiously questions his father, "Dad, why do we have humps on our back?" The wise father responds, "To store water for our journeys, my child." Puzzled, the young camel farther inquires, "Well, why do we have hooves then?" His father patiently explains, "To keep our feet steady and prevent them from sinking into desert sands." Contemplating this information, the young camel persists, "But why do we have large eyelids?" The father smiles, replying, "To prevent the sand from entering our eyes." And in utter confusion, the baby camel finally asks, "Dad, what the heck are we doing in a zoo?"
Nice.
Ethan?
Approved by Olivia. Thank you very much. That's all I have.
Ethan, do you know when a joke becomes a dad joke?
When either it becomes apparent or it groans.
It's actually when it goes to the corner store looking for cigarettes and never comes back. So you failed.
Wow.
And by the way, if you see my dad, please tell him we're doing okay.
I will. I'll make
Tell
sure.
him we miss him.
That just took a dark turn.
That did take a dark turn. Is that
And what's our topic of the day?
Is that your only advice for him? Is that it?
Yeah, it sounded like you were tickling my ears because your mic was so far away.
Oh.
You
That it
kind of wanted
felt,
more.
I wanted more.
Yeah.
That's the purpose of it, though.
I mean, I got
It makes
another
you-
one, but
Makes you want to, hear the next one.
Yeah.
Do you have another one?
You want it to be juicy.
I have a couple small ones.
You had some that you decided not to tell.
I did, mainly because
So if this didn't
I
make your
didn't
first
want them
cut,
by anybody. No, this was the first one, but I went through more, and there's another one. It says, "Why can't you use beef stew as a password? Because it's not strong enough."
It's not true. Moving on. Yeah. Okay. All right.
I got it.
if you leaned into your southern accent, it might have strong enough.
Not strong enough.
Stroganoff. Not strong enough.
That's right. Can't get no
right.
stroganoff at Wendy's.
Maybe if they would break into the stroganoff department, they might really take off.
That's
Yeah, honestly, you just take their chili and stir in a bunch of sour cream. It makes kind of like a stroganoff-y kind
That's
of
true. Or in a frosty.
Hey, they do have good.
Or
They
a
do have good
frosty.
chili. I like the chili.
I didn't know they had chili.
Yeah.
So.
You can get like a bucket of it.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Like
who
literally
needs a
go in and
bucket
buy
of-
like a bucket of chili.
I think it'd be cheaper if
Dip
I just
your
took a
fries
burger
in
and
it.
just got two
Did you know they
cans.
have baked potatoes at Wendy's?
They do?
Yeah, you get a baked potato and you get the chili in it.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not gonna try
It's
that.
some insider.
The only
information.
chili that's comparable is Waffle House. Birch
Oh, yeah.
chili.
Birch
Waffle
chili.
House chili?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't beat birch chili
Yep.
with a T-bone.
But it can beat you.
Yeah.
It abuses.
You may not walk out the door alive.
All right, so we're gonna head into our topic of discussion here in just a minute, but we wanted to kind of start thinking about what it means to live in a military town. So three of us live in Clarksville. Fort Campbell is here.
Because it's a 931, baby.
That's right. Ethan does not yet live in a military town, but
Not yet.
did we already talk about?
But soon.
We mentioned earlier that you're going into the Marines.
Yes.
So he will be. And Grant used to live here. Is there a base close to where you guys are, Grant?
The closest one is Lewis McCord, straight up I-5, just around Olympia area. But I grew up on Marine Corps bases till I was 16 years old.
Okay. Well, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
How far is Lewis McCord from you?
From here,
Yeah.
I mean, obviously it depends on traffic, but like we're exit 1 on I-5. You pass through Portland, Oregon, cross the Columbia River, and you're in Vancouver, Washington. And I think it's like exit 70 something, 80.
So is it like 2 hours?
About an hour and a half. I could pull it up in like 2
Oh,
seconds.
okay.
Yeah, sounds like driving from
Super close.
Clarksville
So
to, like,
if I
the
ever
other
get
side of
stationed
Nashville.
up there, I'll.
I know, dude.
Yeah, we'll hang out.
Yeah, do it.
Make it
Do it.
happen.
Do it.
So what I've come up with is just the top 5 things, and we've all you grew up in a military family, so same thing. We've all lived in this type of area, and there's certain benefits that come from living in a town, a military town or community, things that you just don't really get anywhere else. So these aren't in any particular order, but some things that I found to be beneficial of living specifically in Clarksville with Fort Campbell. The first thing I have here is that we have access to some janky international eateries. Thank you. And there's a difference between just a place that serves international food like IHOP and then a janky international, like this place that also has like a grocery store in it for their food.
yeah.
And then there's a guy back there smoking a cigarette, but
Walmart?
cooking. Kind of like a Waffle House. So, and there's some good places here in Clarksville where you can get some good greasy spoon international food. The second thing I have here is that there is tax-free shopping if you know someone with access to the PX. So Jeff, I got a list of some things.
Sure. Yeah. I live to shop at the PX.
I bet you do. Do you guys do a lot of shopping there?
No.
I did have somebody buy me a MacBook there once.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, we'll buy stuff like that there. I think this one came from it.
Confess your tax evasion online forever. For everyone to.
I didn't pay for it.
You can also, doesn't
Someone in
Kentucky
the
not have
military.
a sales tax? Can't you just like
Oh, well, then that's
Oregon.
go over the
No,
border?
they do.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they do.
Oregon
It's just
doesn't have
less
sales
than
tax.
Tennessee. That's,
Oregon doesn't have sales tax.
0.
But you've got a big state income tax.
Not in Washington.
So no income tax in Washington, but then so you live there and you shop in Oregon.
Yeah. But
That's
you're
smart.
near Portland.
Yeah, that's the downfall. All right, number 3 on my list is that
Okay,
you need
Mr. I have good international food at IHOP. Yeah, brag
It's
it
in
up.
the So on the next thing on the list is you can get a tattoo and a massage in the same place. And an infection.
I'm pretty sure when I was driving home today on Riverside, I saw like 3 cop cars and like the DEA outside a tattoo shop on Riverside. So I don't know what was going on.
Is that a Robert Kraft joke?
was it? It may have been. I saw like a picture of that on Facebook, and I think it was actually in front of like a vape shop,
Oh, maybe it was a vape shop.
which was probably right next to the tattoo.
Yeah.
Which is right next to the international.
They were
food
sharing a
place.
parking lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like they're on every block. Tattoo, massage, and vape.
Yeah.
Yep.
Every block.
And then a Dollar General sometimes.
Yeah.
The other day I saw
Every few
an
miles.
Arby's.
Yeah.
Every few miles.
Every-
I went through this small town in Tennessee and I saw an Arby's connected to a vape shop. I was like, how? Like, that's somebody's dream right there.
That is. They've got the meats and the vapes.
Yeah.
Smoked meats is what some
Yeah.
people might call them.
Yeah. All right. Also on here is you get to experience low-flying Chinook helicopters over your home in the middle of the night. Which is, if you've not experienced that, it's a delight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get to experience that plus the like speedway that's
Yeah, and you
outside
have
my
one
house.
first outside your.
That is mostly soldiers driving like Hellcats.
Hey, which leads me to the topic on my
17%
list.
interest.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
You
So,
qualify.
number 1 on the list is benefit of living in a military community is the abundance of young single guys who drive sports cars and motorcycles like they are currently in a combat zone. Which is 101st.
I was gonna say Fort Campbell Boulevard might actually be a combat zone.
It might be. Yeah.
We saw a guy, this is no
There've been
joke.
shootings there.
I was with my kids, and this was right here, at the intersection right by Walmart and Madison. He was on a motorcycle, young soldier, and he just stuck both his legs off to the side and just started riding it, like just sitting sideways on the motorcycle,
Side saddle.
just right down the bypass there. So
It's what ladies in dresses
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
Not,
I guess so.
okay.
I don't know
What is the
he's
army?
trying to do.
Oh,
riding it like
shots
a
fired.
18th century English woman riding a horse.
So, what do you guys think? Just kind of coming off that silly list, what are some pros and cons, though? Literally, of what have you found of being in a military community? There's some things that you think we get to experience that are great that no one else gets access to.
I mean, I've lived in a lot of them, and I would say that the pros are it's neat because there's more of an appreciation for what the military does oftentimes in those communities, because it's weird when I'm in uniform, like in Clarksville, people are kind, but it's like they have such an appreciation that that they're sort of always appreciative, but you go to some town that is not used to it, and it's like they just don't know how to react. Almost like it's a foreign world to them, and it's a culture that they've not interacted with or seen. So I think that's one of the pros. Obviously, the cons are, and we're going to get into this in the second part, is the military is a challenging culture sometimes in the way that it operates, because you're dealing with life and death, and you're dealing with young men a lot of times that are trained killers, and that's not just being facetious; they really are. And so when you have to deal with that sort of mentality in young people, you get sort of the negative ripple effects of that we often see in some of the things that we listed on this top 5 that we joke about, but that are legit. I mean, they really do happen.
Yeah, and I agree with you. We spent the last 9 years of my dad's career in the Marine Corps in Kailua, Hawaii, literally on Queen Liliuokalani's vacation piece of land that the United States government, funded by a bunch of American businesses, said, yeah, we're going to steal that and put a huge base on it. And I say steal because in the 90s, Clinton actually issued an apology on behalf of America to natives, acknowledging that it was a stolen island. So being a military family in Kailua, one of the most expensive zip codes in the country, living there for nothing, being a white dude, that was not always the most peaceful thing in the world. We weren't necessarily as proud of our dad's occupation in those 9 years as you might have been able to be elsewhere.
That's interesting.
So, yeah, it's something.
Was the land taken over through a wildfire that may have been started by a laser?
That would be no.
Were there any houses painted blue?
Yeah. Is the base blue?
For further reading, it's called the Bayonet Constitution. Okay. That was forced to be signed. Yeah. And at the time, the U.S. Navy was actually paid by the Dole Plantation, the Dole family, and a couple other businesses to actually lay siege to Iolani Palace downtown. Pretty interesting.
Wow.
Oahu is 35 miles across on the straightest long point, and there's like 9 military bases on this little island alone.
That's not even the worst thing that the Dole family's been a part of, because they've done a lot of stuff in South American countries.
I was going to say, is that where the name Dole came from?
Is this Bob Dole?
What are we talking
Bobbert.
Yeah, that's cool. So not necessarily a good thing from Grant's perspective.
Yeah, well, that's interesting. Geographically, you can see, based on where the military base or town is at, can have different, attitudes towards it. It's not something I feel like, especially in the southern United States, we don't experience that a lot here.
Yeah, no.
But yeah, I think the thing that I've liked the most about, I've lived in Clarksville for the past over 10 years. And it's really interesting to see the various cultures just from the United States that all converge in a military base, because you got people from all over, based on where they grew up, and places on where they've been stationed before, things like that. So there's just this giant melting pot of cultures and attitudes and things. So it's kind of like it's not like living in a normal town in Tennessee, living in Clarksville. there's you have so much more
Legit
that you're
Korean food.
exposed to. Yeah, some good Korean,
like legit Korean food
markets.
Yeah, but it just brings. There's certain aspects of it that bring a lot of just interesting things to the town that has been nice living here. Being from Texas and being from a small town in Texas, that's kind of boring. And then Clarksville is, a lot of people talk about how they don't like it, but I feel like it's actually kind of interesting. Especially I run into different types of people all the time, from different backgrounds, from different places.
But your small town in Texas had the American Sniper.
That's true. Himself. He graduated from my high school. Yeah,
Okay.
I have a book signed by him.
That's cool.
He came to my high school, and my mom got it signed for me.
Can I ask what small town it is?
Midlothian, Texas.
Okay, I don't know what that is. I'm from Canyon, so it's outside of Amarillo.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, yeah.
I love those little animals.
Completely different.
They grow up in those balls,
road,
carry leprosy. It's pretty cool.
You spent some time growing up in a military community.
Not necessarily. My
I think he spent 18 years growing up.
My dad, he was in the Marine Corps for only a year. He went in to go be a crew chief, and they had to honorably discharge him because he kept passing out, and they could not wake him up, and he kept blacking out, and it was really bad. He wished he wasn't as stubborn as he was back then, because they offered him a couple of other positions, and he was just like, no, I want this one. He said, you can't have it. But because of him being in the military, it definitely, I feel like, shaped my life of how it is, because, he taught me all these different skills, and, fold your clothes right, make your bed, clean up.
Computer hacking skills, nunchuck skills.
He's a very smart man, and he's very brilliant. But being in that kind of household and growing up with him as my dad, he was always very, like, he always had a tone. He's always had this tone that's been that common military tone where he doesn't realize that he's like yelling or raising his voice. That's just how it was. So my mom would always get on to him and be like, hey, stop yelling. He's like, I'm not yelling. And he's like, yeah. So, but it not necessarily military, but definitely growing up in a military home.
Yeah,
I guess.
Kind of an environment.
Yeah, because his dad, he was in the Army. He fought in Vietnam. He was a POW. So him growing up in that home also had an effect on how he wanted to act for, his children and his wife and whatnot. So
okay,
your mom goes to college.
She did, actually. Yeah. What was it?
True.
I don't know. Stephen and Austin. That's where both my parents went. So.
Yeah, I like what Ryan said. Kind of agree with that, and I think that brings some pros and cons. Just the mix of culture is really cool. You see people from all over the world who have been all over the world, and so you see outside of kind of the bubble of Southern
civilian life,
American civilian life. Yeah, but then you get people who learn to drive from all over the world, and that melting pot is always good.
17th worst.
Oh,
yep.
Almost died today trying to pull out of it.
Well, we have gone a long time on part one. We are already over 50 minutes, so we're gonna wrap this up because there's probably nobody left listening at this point anyway. So we're just gonna move on to part two.
No pressure, part two.
That's right. Say whatever we want.
I usually have a lot of pressure with number twos. Say what?
I really want to intro part two again, but I don't know how to transition to that out of this. So join us in part two. We'll remind you of what we're talking about then. All right. See you guys.
Don't laugh this time.
Hey, we're talking about Christians ministering to our military communities today. Here in the CLV, we live in a military community, as we've already talked about. And so in this part 2, we're going to dive a little bit deeper into not only what it means to live in a military community, but what it means as Christians, what we can do to minister to our military communities. I've lived in a military community for probably 85% of my life. In the military now as a chaplain for the last 11 and a half years. We've got Ethan here today, who is going to be, as we've already talked about, soon joining the ranks of the military. There are 1.4 million Americans serving in our military, 2.6 million family members. There's 331 million Americans, another 16.2 million veterans. So about 20 million veterans and active duty soldiers, family members all together, which is a lot of people. And it's a lot of people that are not only serving in our military or living in these military communities, they're living in a unique context and culture. So we could talk about, obviously there's some negatives that come with that. There's a lot of positives that come with that too. But I think it's worth examining how we can be the light of Christ to this community, and give, a lot of love, not only just, genuine appreciation to soldiers and what they do and their families, but, we have, I think most of us have respect for the military, but showing them that respect, not only as Americans, but also as believers, as those who love them with the love of Christ. It's always nice when someone comes and says, thank you for your service. It's awkward at times. You can ask Stephanie. I don't like wearing my uniform out in public a lot of times just because I want to avoid those times. And it's not that I don't like it. It's just, it's always hard to know what to say. But thinking about, saying that, me as somebody who is in the military, if I saw somebody who had served, I would probably say the same thing. But it's not just doing that like we're doing our part, like we're saying, thank you, we appreciate you, here's a discount here, or hey, we're going to have you stand at a ball game and clap for you. But as Christ followers, how do we really love on this community? Not just clap and say thank you, but how do we go sort of that extra mile? Because the reality is that those who are in our ranks in the military, those families as well, those who have served and now are out, and veterans who are living with the aftermath of some of the things that they've experienced, there's a lot of spiritual warfare there. And so I know there's a lot of spiritual warfare everywhere we go, in our schools, in our nation, all that, but there's a lot in our military. And how can we as Christians really be strategic in that, but also be life promoters as Christians? I say life promoters because we talk a lot about suicide intervention, prevention, and those things are important. But it's not just about trying to stop death. It's about promoting life. And I've got a shirt here. This is called Stop Soldier Suicide. I love this organization. I help raise money for this organization. Last month I ran 100 miles and just online threw it up and people donated. And I donated a few $100s to this organization. I love what they do, but it's more than just trying to stop suicide. Obviously we want to, but how do we promote life as Christians and promote the fullness of life that's found in Jesus Christ? Because that's something that we see in our military community. There are high suicide rates that come not only out of our military, but of our veterans, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. But I think it's important for us first just to look at, obviously there's a lot of scripture that talks about the military and talks about soldiers, and there are people in scripture that, obviously we're military leaders. We think of David, we think of Joshua, one of my favorite books, Joshua, incredible. But Jesus deals with a centurion, and some versions will say a military officer. And in Luke chapter 7, Jesus encounters this military officer who had a servant who was sick to the point of death. And, obviously this officer thought very highly of his servant and wanted him to be healed. And when this officer heard about Jesus, he sent to him elders of the Jews, asking him to come and heal his servant. He heard about Jesus. He wanted Jesus to come and heal his servant. So when they came to Jesus, they pleaded with him and asked him earnestly, saying, he is worthy to have you do this for him. He loves our nation. Similar language that we might use about people who serve our nation. And he is one of us he is the one who helped build our synagogue. And so Jesus went with them, and when he was not far from the house, the centurion's friends saying to him, Lord, do not trouble yourself, for I am not worthy to have you come under my roof. So even though he's a military officer, he's humble and recognized Jesus's lordship and presence here. And he said, therefore, I did not presume to come to you, but say the word and let my servant be healed. So he humbly recognizes who Jesus is, but at the same time, he wants Jesus. He knows that Jesus is all powerful and wants Jesus to heal his servant. And he says, for I too am a man set under authority with soldiers unto me. So he recognizes Jesus is operating under God's authority. And I say to a soldier, go, and he goes, and to another, come, and he comes, and to my servant, do, and he does this. When Jesus heard these things, he marveled at him. He turned to the crowd that was following him, and he said, I tell you, not even in Israel have I found such faith. So Jesus was, bragging about this soldier's faith here, just how incredible it was. This officer recognized Jesus' authority, had faith in his power, and Jesus loved on him, commended him on his faith, and took time to minister to his needs. And so in light of what we see Jesus doing, think about being his follower, Christ's followers. How can we as Christians be that light to our military communities and our veterans, knowing that our military works in a very unique context? They deal with life and death every day. There's a lot of darkness in the military, and I don't want to scare Ethan off or anything, because there's a lot of great things about the military community, the brotherhood, anytime you go through something difficult together, the relationships that are formed, it's incredible. And honestly, one thing, and this is probably something that, I'm going to confess here, before I joined the military, I wrongly assumed that there were a lot of people in the military who weren't smart. They weren't smart enough to get into college, so they joined the military. Let me tell you, the military, they're some of the smartest people I've ever been around, and that's from the lowest ranking private to the most senior officer. The stuff that the military trains you on, these are some smart, sharp individuals, and if you're not, you're going to get weeded out very quick. And so it pushes that on you. And so it's an intense environment, a competitive environment, can be an aggressive environment. But with all that said, it's still people that want hope, that want love, that desire relationship, and that need comfort and need the touch of a Savior, Jesus Christ. And so in light of that, how can Christians be a light to our military community and our veterans? What are some things maybe you've seen that Christians have done well?
Well, when we talk about being a light, when you think of beginning of John, where he says, the light calls Jesus that the light of men have. I'm missing it, but this light has become the light of men. Speaking of Jesus, and then Jesus says, "I am the light of the world." Then he looks at his followers as, "You are the light of the world," and then go let your light then shine. And so when I think about that, I always think, one, okay, well, what is our light? I think it starts with it's a who. It's Jesus in us. And so this is a church answer, but I think part of that is just letting Jesus shine through us, letting him be seen in our interaction with people in every way. And, anytime we see how Jesus responded, even in this story that you wrote, it was always led by compassion for people and the hurt that they had, wanting to bring some sort of hope or healing into their life and ultimately bring into the kingdom. But I think one, it would just begin by developing a compassion for those who serve in our military, and especially those that are living within our community. And that's one of the things I think we sense in Clarksville, and you kind of hit on it a little bit, is that I think there are people here that nice. That there are people here. Is that your GI Joe?
Does he have a cigar in his mouth?
I'd like to thank Grant for keeping it chill here.
Providing some levity.
That's right. I think there are people, especially in our town, that have been here for a long time that might even have some animosity against the military because of what it brings into the town, right? The traffic or people who don't know how we do things around here.
Super fast cars.
Yeah, loud, stuff like that. And
well,
so not,
yeah.
What? No,
well, I think that's one of the biggest cliches, right? Like the Charger at 17% interest and whatever. But I get it because, and I think this segues into the one reason, very practically, I think we can all be serving military people if we have an opportunity. It's one of the very few class systems in the U.S. What's fascinating is racism numbers. It depends on who you ask and what you read. But according to the implicit bias type studies, like racism is declining, but classism is rising. And the shrinking middle class, you either have means or you don't have means. And the people with means look down on the people without means. So that's happening in our culture at large. But in the military, like Jeff will know what this means right away. You either have a blue sticker or a red sticker on your car. So
we used to have stickers. They actually got rid of them.
Oh, did they get rid of stickers? Okay. So like growing up, like if your dad was an officer, your car had a blue sticker on it. If your dad was enlisted, your car had a red sticker on it. And the Marine Corps bases still use Marine sentries guarding the bases. And they would actually salute whoever was in the blue car or the car with blue stickers to come in, not the red sticker. And so I have so much grace for, and I have a lot of understanding because just think about it. What they wear every day is called a uniformity. The only way you stand out is what you drive. I mean, if you're living in the barracks on the base, you're living in the same place as everyone else. You dress the same as everybody else. You might have the same job as everyone else. The one place you can express yourself is your car. And I think the one blessing that we have as civilians, one of the many, is that when I go home, I don't really think about my job at the church. Like I can go visit my job and I'm now here. And of course I have scripture here and I pray for people here and I'll leave here and meet people here, whatever. But like I'm out. I'm not living in this culture that I cannot get away from. In the military, you sign a contract. You have to do things. And if you don't do those things, you can be court-martialed and imprisoned, potentially. You dress like everyone else. You look like everyone else. You make the same money as everybody else. But within that system, you are what you do. And at the end of the day, even the most accomplished person with a red sticker on their car, an E9, or even the sergeant major of the Marine Corps, right, salutes the 01 who could have just finished college, doing an ROTC program, getting a full ride, being the biggest party boy in the world, not having a clue what to do, but he's a blue sticker. So I think one of the things that practically Christians can do is provide access to your other spheres outside of the base, outside of that world where the individual can be an individual, because Jesus has always cared about individuals. I think that's really profound, and especially the families. As a kid, you own what your dad does on a military base, no matter what. Like your dad's social security number is almost more important than yours. Who your dad works for, what unit, what rank, what position. We were super proud of my dad when he was on the Presidential Helicopter Squadron as a crew chief, Ethan. That's what he did. He was one of the Marines that would salute the president in dress blues from Reagan through Clinton. Super proud. And then we go from there to Hawaii, where I'm hiding what my dad does because I don't want to catch flack for what he does. So if you can provide that other sphere where they can not be military, get a break from that environment, I think that's one of the biggest blessings. And you can see walls just come down. That was a lot.
I'm actually glad you brought that up, them being an individual, because I was going to talk a little bit about that because there's a lot of truth in that. The military owns you to a certain degree, that especially on a long deployment or.
Is there a little bit of truth in that? Just a little truth in it?
Just a little bit.
Okay.
You can almost lose sight of who you are. And I mean, not only that, you're called by your rank or your last name. For 9 months, my first deployment, everybody's calling me sir or chaplain. And that's great and all, but there were times when I had to go back and be like, I'm Jeff, at the end of the day, I'm Jeff, and that's who I am. And it was so much so that I had my chaplain assistant, who's enlisted, call me by my first name because I just got so tired of it. I needed somebody to call me by my name. And so I ordered her to. I was like, "You're going to just call me Jeff." And it felt weird for her at first, but once she did, it was fine.
Jeff, thanks for saying that.
But
Jeff.
Yeah, I want you to call that.
Yeah, Jeff.
But I will say this about the class system. So I grew up a military brat. My dad was in the Army for 23 years, and I saw it. My dad was enlisted, and they had officer clubs and NCO
enlisted clubs.
They had enlisted swimming pools and officer swimming pools.
Wow.
Yep.
I was surprised when I joined as a chaplain in 2012. That has pretty much gone away quite a bit. Now, obviously, they still, you'll still drive through the gate and you'll have soldiers, like an army post that will salute officers as they come through. There's still those courtesies that are shown. The highest ranking E9 will still salute the 01 butter bar. That's just straight out of ROTC or wherever they're from.
I don't know what a butter bar is, but I can imagine what it's referencing.
It's a second lieutenant.
Okay.
And they have just
someone that eats at Wendy's.
Old bar.
That's what I was thinking, like just kind of soft.
I thought you were talking about somebody who like eats bars of butter.
They probably do.
I was like, in that case, I'm a butter.
They're like 22 years old, and that's about all they know how to do.
I eat this much.
Jeff, could I ask, did you go in as an officer or enlisted?
I went in as an officer.
Okay.
So, but I've had an experience in both worlds because I grew up like Grant, and my dad was enlisted, and he's right. I remember kids would talk about that on the playgrounds and at school. Yeah. What rank is your dad?
My wife has told me the same
listed
thing.
On the house.
And she grew up.
Yeah. When you live on a military post, not so much anymore, but it used to, like, your rank and everything was on the house. So your friends would come over and be like, "Oh, your dad's only an E6. My dad's an E7. You suck."
Yeah. It's like not only is your rank and like station posted for everyone to see, but pretty much like how much money you make.
Yeah,
is everyone
essentially? Yeah.
So you can get online and find out how much anybody. Know how
you're
long
a government official.
Their rank is.
It's like that conversation kids would have, be like, "My dad can beat up your dad," or "My dad makes me money." It's stuff like that.
Well, and that kind of what I was saying earlier about just like compassion, and I'm glad what Grant said right after that. Like I hadn't thought about that. Like their cars, just like that, are a way they can show
an expression of them. Yeah,
and I think that's important for me to learn and for all of us to understand. Are some of those unique things that the military carries, and that we just don't understand. Or we don't know about. And so trying to understand those things, but just looking at them, whether you know these inside things or not, you see someone who's clearly military say, I don't know what their life is like because I'm not like that. And I wasn't raised that way. Mm-hmm. I have an uncle who was killed in Vietnam, and I've never met him. So I was born after Vietnam, but
what?
And then I know. And then my brother was.
Are you sure about that?
My brother was in the National Guard Army Reserve Band.
Oh,
so
the National Guard.
But I don't understand. I don't understand military life. I'm living in a town where everybody talks in code because everything's like FOP and DOD and
SOP
and COD, like Call of Duty. I don't know. And that's the only one I know.
That's a good one.
But I think for us just to assume, hey, there's things these individuals and families face that I don't get. And they're going through things that I don't understand. And so giving a benefit of a doubt and then showing some compassion because of that. When it comes to their cars, get the coolest car out there. Just don't race it down 101st real loud. So when we're recording a podcast,
I'm trying to sleep, okay? And I don't need...
Josh, it's not their fault you drive a Subaru.
That's true.
That's why they have to drive their Chargers.
The day he bought that Subaru. Anyway.
You were there.
I will say, though, from a perspective of somebody who did not grow up in a military family. And I've moved here. I've lived in Clarksville, a military town, for over 10 years, and so I've got a lot of experience with it. My wife grew up in a military family. Her dad was pretty much in the Army the entire time she was in elementary school, high school. But I think that from kind of an outsider's perspective, it's easy to go up to somebody in a uniform and say, "Thank you for your service." Mm-hmm. But I think that a big way that we can go a step further as Christians is to look past, kind of in the same train of thought that you guys have been talking about, look past their uniform and look at them as a person, and try to connect with them on that level. And I think that will do miles for not only, their self-esteem, but also just, feeling connected to something other than just like the Army, which is kind of everybody's the same, essentially. Even if you're different levels of it, everybody is very similar.
They're human.
Yeah.
Is that so? And you mentioned this a little bit about how
just a little bit.
Don't want people to thanks. You don't want people to maybe always kind of recognize you in uniform. And I've heard in the past, I don't remember the reason that was given for why, but that there are not just military, but even police and people who are first responders. They don't necessarily like people coming up and thanking them all the time. And I wonder, does it get old? And is it because it's you're being identified all the time?
Yeah, it's not so much. I mean, I appreciate it, and I had actually I was traveling with some Air Force airmen back in August when I went down to San Antonio.
Not seamen?
Nope, they were airmen.
Okay, just making sure.
They had their uniforms on, and one of the flight attendants said, "Thank you for your service," and they quickly shot back, "Thank you for your support." And I was like, "Oh, what a great line to!" Because I'm always like, oh, "Thank you," or "You're welcome." I mean, they're welcome for my service.
Yeah, right.
I mean, I'm not going to do that.
That's right,
dude. Just respond. No. Let's go back in the Dudefax files. My pleasure.
That's what Ryan just said.
Oh, did he?
But
perfect.
It's one of those things that I'm glad people say it, but and I'm glad people are supportive and appreciative. But at the same time, it comes back to that individuality. I want to be known as Jeff. I'm not just an Army dude. That is just a part of my life. For some people, it is more. I mean, that they encompass the Army or the military, and the reality is it's only a short part of your life. You may carry it on after you're out, regardless of how many years you serve, but it's only really a snapshot of your life. 20, 25 years for most people, probably under 10 years. And so if you wrap all your identity into that, that's part of what we're going to get into when we talk about suicide. There is a reason for hopelessness to be there. But, I'm the type of person that I don't want to wrap all my identity in that. I just want you to see me for me. But more than that, and I think we've been hitting on it, when I came into the Army, obviously I'm looking at it through a different lens, and then I'm older, I'm a pastor, minister. God has really called me into missions, and I see the Army as my mission field. And so I truly felt like a missionary and still do in the Army. So God has called me to this context, to this culture. So similar to if God called you to a foreign country, and maybe it's a third world country, and you see how the people are living and you see their struggles and the unique things about that culture, you might go to them and say, "Oh, I'm sorry for this. Oh, I'm sorry. And they might be appreciative that you feel sorrow for them, but in their minds, they're probably like, well, what are you going to do about it? How are you going to help? Are you just going to keep saying, I'm sorry, or are you actually going to do something to help here? Why are you here?" And to a sense, I think our military community is kind of like that too, is there's some genuine needs there, and it's great to be thankful for service. But the reality is there's a lot of messed up marriages in the military. The reality is that soldiers do spend a lot of time away from their families, and there are moms who are pretty much single moms raising kids, and there are kids who aren't seeing dads. And There's people that die, and they're dealing with life and death, and they need hope. They need genuine help. And so I think it's realizing that about this culture, and more than just saying, "Hey, thank you for your service." It's like, how can I serve you? And I think as Christians, that behooves us regardless of the culture. But as we're talking about military today, really thinking through that as we think about our military. And I think that's what Jesus did here in this example, obviously. And not only that, but with every culture that he encountered. But let's transition a little bit, because I know we've been talking a lot. Obviously I've talked about the Army and the military in general as being a dark environment. It's interesting because before I came back here to Clarksville, and I've been back a little over a year, I spent 3.5 years at West Point. And so I was working with cadets. I was like a youth pastor to cadets for 3.5 years. It was awesome. But so often I would have cadets walk into my office and say, "I feel the spiritual warfare here." And it would just blow them away. And they would jump on my back like that, Grant. I'd be like giving them a piggyback ride. But there is, and it's something I noticed too, as soon as I stepped foot into my first unit, even though I met some great people, had some great conversations, was able to share the gospel quite a bit with people that needed to hear the gospel, it can be a dark environment because you're dealing with life and death. I mean, you're dealing with it every day. People have experienced loss. People have seen horrific things. And then they leave, sometimes not by choice. They retire from the military, and still deal with that, stress, anxiety, all those things. So suicide is a big problem amongst our veterans and in our military community. It also is in our world. I get that too. And the rates are rising, not only in the military, but also in the United States. But it is the second leading cause of death in veterans under the age of 45. 31.7 people per 100,000 veterans in their life by suicide, compared to 16 in 100,000 non-military adults. There was a stat that was going around for a long time, and it's still used quite a bit, but at one time there were 22 veterans or soldiers a day committing suicide. And you'll still see that quite a bit. I actually, so every Wednesday, it's just sort of a thing I've started on my running Instagram profile. But every Wednesday I do 22 push-ups, and I do it for the 22 a day stat. It's just something I use it as just a way to bring awareness, not because I want people to know, hey, people are committing suicide, but hey, what are we going to do about it? And as Christians, I think we have a real opportunity because we know the life giver. And so what better way to minister to a community that's experiencing hopelessness, that is struggling and sometimes not knowing where to turn to, than showing them the life giver. And it seems like a simplistic answer, but it's amazing when I would work with soldiers, when I worked with cadets, how at the end of the day, I can give them all the practicality in the world as far as, hey, here's some things you can do to deal with stress, anxiety, depression, all this. Yeah, you can go to behavioral health and you can take pills and all that. I'm not trying to knock any of that. But at the end of the day, Jesus is really what turned lives around. I have so many stories of individuals that I was able to share the gospel with and just was able to sit back and watch God radically change their life and then go from somebody who wanted to end their life to somebody that had great hope in their life. And so, as we think about this being an issue in, the community that we live in, but also our nation, I'll just be honest, I don't have all the answers other than I know Jesus is the answer. But, what are some of the things that we can do as Christians to really combat this problem? And obviously not only in our military, but in our nation, with people that think, the only way out is for me to take my own life. I'm so hopeless that's it.
So one of the things that drew me to the Northwest, to be honest, and we're known as being a dark part of the country, as the unit cloud comes in a week or two and is here until May usually. And for a long time, it was pretty high in suicide rates. And I think the teenage suicide rate here is still really, really, really high. But, I mean, we have the hope of the world. And we have the message of Jesus. We have the power of his Spirit in us. And that message of Jesus has an intended audience. It's called the good news, not the good olds. So it's meant for those who have not heard it. And man, I'll tell you, one of my, he's becoming a good friend here. His daughter's in my eldest daughter's class, but he was a Marine. I want to say he was at Pendleton. I forget what unit he was in, but he was an infantry Marine. And then he went through assessment and selection, became a recon Marine, and all sorts of crazy stuff. Like his life story is nuts. And he's become like a little hiking buddy. But he is actually in that program. Jeff, he's the one I put you in touch with, or tried to. He's in a program finishing up a PhD through Liberty University, and he's seriously thinking about chaplaincy as a next step to be able to show that kind of love that he connected with in the darkest time in his life and go back in as a missionary to the military community. So I think with any community, I mean, there's darkness all around, and I love the way that John puts it. We're either light and children of the light, or we are walking in darkness, and that's everyone's spiritual reality. And obviously, Josh, you referred earlier to one of my favorite passages, Matthew 5:16, let your light so shine before men that they may see your good deeds and bring glory to your Father in heaven. And I think we could pursue a lot of people in our lives showing the love of Jesus, regardless of who they are, if they're military or not, it doesn't matter. They're either children of light or children of darkness. And I do think we have the tendency to look at a military community, if there's one near you, as, well, they have their life put together. They're at least told what to do and where to be and when. So they must have something together, but they're people. And if they're not walking in the light, they are walking in darkness. So share Jesus. If that means sharing yourself and sharing the love of him through you and through your works, providing a place where they can have an identity other than their rank and their last name, praise God. But show that light.
I wonder if part of it as well is that we've got to start with something in our own lives internally. It's hard to give people hope when you're kind of living, even as Christian, in a defeated manner, you know. And I think a lot of Christians do live that way, where they kind of look at the things going on in their life or things they're even struggling with, and instead of just this realization that, okay, my position in Christ is one who is righteous, who has been redeemed, who has been given power over sin and death, one who is filled with the power of God through the Holy Spirit. I wonder if a lot of these things exist, a lot of the darkness specifically on military bases and in those communities, just because Christians are not living the way they've been created to live. And so we feel ineffective, or that we don't have the ability or the power, because you're thinking, okay, there's a major suicide issue, darkness issue on our military bases. How are we going to lean into that? And I think a lot of people who are Christians will probably think, man, I just don't have energy, because I got it. How can I do that when I'm dealing with my own stuff? And that kind of ineffectiveness we place on ourselves by not believing truth, by believing lies. And so this isn't a cop-out to your question, and given like specific things, I just think that's one place we need to start, because there may be people listening to this that just think, man, that's something else I got to do, you know. But once you realize who you are in Christ and what he has done in your life, whether you got it all figured out or not, which you don't, and you won't this side of heaven, once you realize who you are and your stuff's handled and Jesus is working through you, and that doesn't have to limit you because you're pursuing him and you're recognizing who he is, what he's done, you want that light then to shine to others. So I would say, you know, if you're in a place right now where we're talking about this and you think, man, that's terrible, but I don't have the bandwidth for that. I don't have the energy for that. Like, well, how am I supposed I can barely take care of my family. If Jesus has come into your life and you're a Christ follower, you've got all you need. Submit to the truth that he has freed you from your sin. Make sure you're spending time speaking to him, listening to him through his word, doing what you can to live obediently. And then you mess up, ask for forgiveness, repent, move on. You've got it. And then you receive this freedom, and not just the freedom, but at this movement, this power from the Spirit in you, to then look at other people who are going through the same crap you were limiting yourself by, and even darker things, and you can then lean in to love them more effectively. So I do think I would love to hear. I don't necessarily know when you ask that question then of, well, what can Christians and churches do? I because I'm outside of the military realm, I have a hard time thinking of anything like specific, which may not even be your question. But I think it has to start with, well, if I'm going to pursue the Lord and I am pursuing him and following him, then he is going to work through me to love those in my community the way he does, right? Like he directs us and empowers us in those things. So if there is a neighbor who actually lives in my neighborhood, but is, an officer in the military, and Dylan's like, God's going to open doors. If I'm wanting to reach out and minister to these people, he's going to open those doors. He's going to give us words to speak. He's going to guide us in our interaction. He's going to give us his eyes and his compassion. And so some of that, I think, begins to take place. But if we're not living, not just showing the light, but if we're not even living in the freedom we have and in the hope we have and in the joy that we have, I don't think we can expect to be able to give that to other people.
Well, and to piggyback, and Jeff, you could inform part of this, but like one of the things that my undergrad college drilled into us is the idea of occupational ministry. And what they meant was pastors and missionaries and people whose occupation, where they derive their paycheck from, is ministry, right? The term we learned in seminary, which I am a big proponent for, opposed to that, is ministry leadership. So pastors are just ministry leaders, because everyone, if you're in Christ, your occupation is your ministry. And so like Ryan, you're a missionary in your workplace. That's who you are. That's who God has made you to be. Ethan, going into the Marine Corps as a photographer, if that's what you're able to do, your ministry is a Marine photographer. And Jeff, and this is where you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Jeff, as a chaplain, is expected to say things about God and Jesus and extend his love. He's expected to. Yep. And sometimes it's more profound. And I know it's true for me in my church. I'm expected to go visit people and say, hey, Jesus loves you. Can I pray with you? I'm the pastor, right? That's what they expect. It's more meaningful when just an average attendee goes to somebody's house and says, hey, man, I love you. I'm praying for you. I'm trying to serve you. So I'm assuming it's the same in the military, Jeff. Like if there's just, a captain in an infantry battalion saying, hey, man, I love you and I'm praying for you. Can I show you where I find hope? It might be more impactful than if you were to say that.
Absolutely.
So Jeff would be a ministry leader of occupational ministers.
Essentially.
Yeah.
I
like that title.
I did want to piggyback off of both what Josh and Grant were saying. I definitely think that having that companionship is very good. Especially, I believe that if we have Christians in our military, they have a better access to people that might need to seek Christ or know Christ. That's why we have people like Jeff, or even if they're not trying to be a chaplain, maybe try to be a combat photographer, maybe just drive it a take. Maybe just talk to your squad and be like, hey, this is who Jesus is. Having people in Christ that know Christ in the military is a very good way. And not saying that everybody needs to go to the military if you're a Christian. That's not. But being able to have that Christian in said military and able just to be able to talk to people, and that might be easier for some people to get to know, because it might be awkward sometimes if just a random Christian comes up to a Marine or a military person and you're just like, hey, how can I help? How can I pray for you? But when you got somebody that knows what you're going through, knows what you've been through, and is trying to help you, and they've also been through that same situation or similar situation, I definitely think it helps a whole lot with understanding.
Yeah,
and that's true stewardship.
Brings up such a great point and really a good transition, because part of going into any culture is understanding that culture. And so I think it behooves us as Christians to listen to those who are in the military culture and get an understanding so that we do know how to minister. But one of the things that's always been impressive is So I don't live on the post right now, but both my neighbors on either side of me are in the military. I got a warrant officer on one side and I got a captain on the other. Then 2 houses down is another major chaplain who actually works in the same office as I do right down the hall. And so the
Crazy.
4 of us, here we are, all military. But what's neat is my neighbor if I'm facing the street to the left of me, her husband went to the field not too long ago. And she asked, hey, can my son Silas go over and mow her yard? Same thing with the chaplain that lived 2 doors down. And he got a little moolah out of it. But it's just things like that. Like we're able to support each other and just kind of understand like, hey, yeah, husband's going to be gone, wife, small kids, let's step up and help them out. We understand some of those things I think are common sense, but it's just so sort of knowing that. And so I think it behooves us as Christians to understand the culture a little bit. And so I think that's one way that we can do that. But also as it relates to suicide, not being afraid to talk about it. I think sometimes we're a little like we obviously promote life and all about life and life is worth living and Jesus is the hope. We can say all that and understand that, but specifically talking about suicide, maybe even engaging with somebody and asking them, are you thinking about suicide? We shy away from that because we feel like it's awkward or we don't want to talk to somebody about that because they're going to get offended if they're not thinking about it. But we ask them that, hey, it's worth stepping in and asking that question to help maybe step in and save their life. But also,
especially if you see like a Chicago Bears sticker. Like, on the car.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
they're
a red
depressed
flag right there.
But spiritual warfare is real.
Sorry, Grant.
And prayer is a must for those Bear fans like Grant. But the other thing
I think they're still winning.
The other thing, as long as DJ Moore scoring touchdowns.
It is.
The other thing that I think is key with our military, especially with our veterans, and I'll share this and we can kind of transition and close here, but one thing that's key for a lot of our veterans is the idea of, one, showing them life, love, but also forgiveness, because that's something that a lot of our veterans are holding on to, is this idea of they screwed something up. They lost a buddy. It was their fault, or I should have been me, or, there's things that replay in their minds and they haven't forgiven themselves. And showing them a God who forgives them and wipes the slate clean and loves them unconditionally is so huge in battling this. And I think that's something that we have to take. I had a fellow chaplain tell me when I first came in and I was doing my first memorial ceremony for a soldier that had died, point at the cross on my uniform and say, don't forget what you bring to the fight. And I would say that for any Christian, regardless if you're in the military or not, don't forget what you bring to the fight. We have the answer, the hope, and we need to bring that to people that desperately need it.
This idea of getting to understand and know what it's like, and just befriending people, talking to people that are there. And I think if we're in church in a military community, there's probably people in the military currently in your church or who are retired. I know our church, it's filled with even people who they were stationed here at Fort Campbell, moved away, retired, and have come back. And I don't know why, but come back for some reason.
Tennessee doesn't tax your retirement. That's why.
Oh, that's why. That's
Yeah.
A lot of them are from California, so cost of living is a lot less.
Because it's a 931, baby.
That's all you got to say. But we can talk to them. Like, how can we love the military well? They're going to have a lot of insight into that. But love your neighbor as yourself, whoever that is. If they are military, if they're not. You see a need, love it. Love that person to meet that need. And if we just kind of try to start there as well and not get overwhelmed, it may be easy to get overwhelmed in a conversation like this. Like, I'm not equipped for that. Well, just love them.
Yeah.
Whatever you see as the need, just jump in and do what you can.
I think that, and specifically in regards to soldier suicide and veterans and even people that are still active duty, they're dealing with a lot of traumatic experiences, like Jeff was talking about, that are things they either feel guilt from or feel, there's, just these deep, dark feelings that you may not understand and you may not necessarily be able to connect with them, but providing them a place that they feel comfortable and safe sharing that can then lead to further conversation and to, being able to unpack that with them, whether you feel equipped to handle it or not. Just providing them that opportunity is a big step into helping them.
Yeah, just being a place, being present really at the end of the day, because it's the same thing when we were youth pastors and you had the 12-year-old girl come up to you crying because her boyfriend broke up with her, and you're like, what in the world? I don't understand why this is such a big deal.
Be thankful for that. He's a moron.
Gosh.
Justin Bieber doesn't even know you.
Thing.
And they're still in the same youth group afterward. It's just like
Awkward.
You may not be able to step into their shoes exactly, but just being present, being there, it goes a long way. And we can absolutely do that. I remember the very first time that I counseled a soldier when I came in the Army fresh as a chaplain, and I had not deployed yet, and was very new to this ministry. He had already been to combat several times, and obviously he was hurting. He was bringing up a lot of his issues with combat, and I'm trying to work through this. And obviously I don't feel equipped. I'm like, God, you've got to work, because I could never experience this. And he even mentioned, he looked up my right shoulder because I didn't have a combat patch at the time. And he was like, I don't know if you can even understand like what I'm going through. And I was just honest. I said, I can't understand what you're going through because I haven't gone through it. And I said, but I do understand pain, and I understand hurt, and I understand how I serve a God that can give me comfort in that pain, and began to talk to him about my experiences outside of that, but not trying to equate my experiences to his or put it on the same level, but at least just hearing him where he is and not trying to be something that I'm not, but at the same time trying to understand. And I think we can all do that regardless of our experiences. So obviously I know we want to wrap up, and it's great discussion. We could spend a lot of time in this, but have you guys seen anything that's been done by churches that's been effective for the military community, for military families, any military ministries that you think would be worth sharing?
No, not that I can really think of. I think there used to be a church back in Murfreesboro where I live that I used to go to, and they kind of had helped because they had a lot of, I think one of the pastors was former military or veteran, and they had a lot of people that were veterans in that church. I think they did a little with the offerings and everything and just giving back to people. That's all I can really think about. I did want to bring up something about my grandmother. She had the idea, so I'm going to steal it from her. She brought up, because there's been a spike of just veterans that are homeless. Not all of them, but a lot of veterans can be found homeless, and they can't get a job, they can't afford a house or any living because they either they just, something happened a certain way, maybe there's something wrong with them that they need to get help with. But she had brought up this idea. She was like, a lot of schools don't have a lot of protections. Sure, we got SROs and maybe a police station a couple blocks down, but that's about it. She had brought up the idea, what if we gave these veterans jobs? Obviously, we'll do a background check on them, and we'll just station them outside of the school doors. That way, we don't have to worry about any, school shooters or anything unsafe coming in or out of the building, stuff like that. And they can just sit there, get paid by the government still, and that way they can still feel like they are worth living for something and not feeling like they're just having to be sitting on the street or stuff like that. So there's a kind of an idea, but I haven't really seen much that churches have been doing.
Most of the things I see a lot of support for military families, especially when people are deployed. I know a lot of churches in Clarksville do programs and like offer support systems for those families that, because when a family has, the husband's deployed for months on end, that's a big hole left. And, they're filling that void, I think is a real practical way I've seen churches minister to not only military personnel, but also their families. And I think
if you need a daddy, Jay Philly's here.
Some of the most effective church ministry I've seen has been in that way.
That was actually.
Do you guys remember? Do you guys remember that D now that you two ran at before you guys left the church we all served at? Do you remember?
Which D now?
Which D now?
Okay, this D now. You guys paid me to come down from Chicago and teach at one of the sessions and be with like one of the groups of kids. And I remember you guys led the students in putting together this care pack, this care package for military. Do you remember?
Oh
this?
yeah, that's right. We did.
And I was with the senior boys. I think this is when like Ben Halashek, however you say his last name, and Greg, like that whole
Whose dad
group
was in the military.
Yeah.
His dad was in the military. So I remember okay, so for context, these kids that are part of this discipleship weekend for this church had to go out and spend their own money on things with their group leaders to bring back to the church to be put in a box to ship, I think, to Afghanistan to be sent out to soldiers.
Yeah, it was Freddie's son's unit.
Okay.
Freddie Balkerson.
Yeah.
And I remember because there was an 18-year-old among the high school boys that I was with that weekend. So I'm just hanging out at Walmart waiting for them to be done because we're going to drive back to the church, bring this offering. Do you remember what they bought?
No,
I don't.
I'm
but,
afraid.
my mind is.
The high school boys bought as much dip as they could afford.
Oh my goodness.
Because they said that's what soldiers really want. Let's buy them what they actually want. They just bought a case of dip.
So they got dip from First Baptist Church, Clarksville.
On behalf of First Baptist.
I'm glad I'm living Murfreesboro.
It's making a difference.
I'll be honest, most of the members of First Baptist Church in Clarksville probably dip. So
I think there was some.
That's true.
Yeah. I got in trouble for calling them guys. I went to a deacons meeting and spoke. I called them guys, and I had some retired colonel come up to me like, "Son, I haven't been a guy since before I enlisted in '62 or whatever." And I'm like, "Yeah, whatever, man." I'm an unpaid intern this summer.
I'm just picturing those soldiers opening that box up, just shocked that there's dip in there. And there's even a card in there signed by Kevin Kennedy.
Hey, got you covered. So wait, you were the leader in this group, though, right, Grant?
No, so technically I was hosted with them.
We were paying.
I forget who was their leader.
Oh.
Yeah, you paid me to come speak, and then I got to stay at that
what
house.
was in the box before it got sealed and brought to the church?
I knew it because they brought it to the car. I said, "What'd you guys get?" They're like, "A bunch of dip." Really? I just started laughing.
And you're like, when you got to the church, like, okay, you got to set that over there.
Was
I'm like, not my problem.
Part of this.
I don't know, David, if you were comment, that was the funniest thing. Because this is also the D now where someone bent a metal coat hanger and tried to make a brand and brand themselves with a cross. That. You remember
what? Teenage boys.
Youth ministry.
Yeah. I think Kenny may have actually been the leader of that boys group.
Kenny Kennedy?
Kennedy? Oh, yeah.
I think he was. I think he was. I may have a picture.
So Kev does have you covered.
Yeah.
He got your dip for you.
So you're saying like Kenny Kennedy, not Kev Jr.
So those things are not the things we're talking about when ministering.
Kenneth Lawrence Kennedy.
Do something different than that.
Yes. Dare to be.
Don't send boxes of dip.
Or do. We're not condoning.
Or do.
Oh gosh, good times.
Coffee. When I worked at Starbucks, we used to send coffee. So
yes, that's money. That is definitely money.
Yeah.
And hot sauce. Hot sauce.
Hot sauce, yeah.
A Taco Bell hot
Bottles
sauce.
of
Anything
Tabasco.
from home, really. You know, just the comfort.
Just look through your junk drawer, and it's just like, oh,
socks.
I got
underwear.
an unused pen. Here you go.
I think these little foot electrocutors would be good for them too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, what's that called, Jeff?
They're on their feet all day. So
I don't know what that's called.
It's
actually.
called what does that say on there?
Josh's gonna read it.
Or Ethan's gonna.
EMS foot massager.
Oh, it's an
EMS foot
emergency.
massager. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, my feet were on it.
So
What,
yeah,
touch
is
it?
it emergency medical services or electrical magnetic
Shock.
shock?
I would love for somebody to put that on their bare chest as we close out tonight.
Ryan.
Ryan.
Okay, I'm safe. I'm safe.
Pass that on over. You don't have to do bare chest, but you don't have to bare your
Well,
chest.
you know, actually, you know,
Yes, he does.
I don't want to like mess up your heart or something.
Yeah,
no,
Yeah.
so
I have AFib, so I got to back out.
I'd laugh.
around here. How do I turn this on?
I think you just press the middle button.
The M.
Ryan, I'll
Yeah,
send you a
press
pack of
and
dip
hold,
to
press
your
and hold.
emergency
Yeah, you
room.
want to put the mode on massage,
Maybe, or maybe press and hold the plus button. There you go.
There we go.
and then you just plus just.
And this is
cranks it up.
this is the electrocution music. Apparently.
Put it on your face.
Oh, it's my first time hearing this now.
Yeah.
This is what was playing when your foot was getting electrocuted.
Okay.
It wasn't really.
Jesus, Juke.
So what number are you up to?
I'm on 4.
Okay. So you're still in the lightweight zone.
Nice little song.
Yeah.
Hey, while you're ratcheting it up, one day a little boy is riding his bike outside of a church, and the pastor's like, "Hey, you want to see what's inside?" So he kept peeking in the building. So he brings his little boy inside the church, and he shows him the Sunday school wing, he shows him the sanctuary, he shows him the offices. And as we're walking back to the front entrance where the kid's bike was, they pass by all these pictures of men in uniform in this one hallway on this one wall. Little boy says, "Who are they?" And he says, "Oh, those are men who died in service." And the little boy said, "First or second?"
Oh gosh.
That's funny.
Where
How
you
you
at?
feeling, Ryan?
I'm on 15.
Wow.
Go to 19.
You're not even flinching.
Oh, whoa,
That thing's making your thumb take it up even higher.
oh.
Are you okay?
It's like it's not like an immediate change when you switch it up. So I switched it up to 16, and then all of a sudden it got like super, like
It's almost like it has to load.
really intense. And then like I turned it back down to 15. It took a minute for it to go back down. So like it was just like the entire time sitting there.
I wonder
Kid,
if
you're 19.
Yeah, baby.
Are you gonna make it?
Yeah, baby.
Crank it up. Crank it
It's the
up.
face that Ryan makes
I feel like
after
my arm
Burt's
was
chili.
a bad choice. Whew. Feels kind of like
you
you
could have done
know
on your bicep maybe.
if I
Instead of your forearm.
well I can hold it better on my forearm. That's the only reason I'm doing it here. On
Hey, Brenda, is
17.
the electric thing that way? Or is it in between?
18.
Oh, he's almost there.
Wow, it's impressive.
I
It
can see
feels like,
straight up
you
your
know,
nostril.
It's really strong, but like if you ever like lay on your arm when you're sleeping, you like wake up and it's like
Didn't Detroit Babe complain about the angle?
yeah,
of
she's
your
probably gonna
camera
complain
lens?
again. I got a laptop stand I'll bring next time, but
I was going to ask, do we want to go over statistics? Sorry to kind of just kill everything. Do we want to go over this statistics?
Well, he gave us some. You got one you want to?
I did.
Sorry.
I have. No, it's okay. Oh, do we want to
Is
finish
this
it?
music appropriate for the statistic you're going to?
Well, I was going to share Tennessee statistics.
Oh yeah, okay.
So
Oh, go for it.
I can share Florida man statistics.
You have Florida statistics?
No, I don't. I don't have it pulled up. I don't know. This is perfect.
No, yeah. What was it you came across?
So I had come across. I was doing a bunch of research last night because Josh told me about what we were going to talk about, and
That's way more work than we do.
I know. So it's on my crappy little laptop, and I was like, oh, maybe I can do research. So the U.S. Department of Veteran Affairs submitted their 2020 report at the end of around, I guess, the beginning of 21, and that's as updated as we got. I did want to share first that in the first quarter of this month, I had researched.
Or this year.
Yeah, sorry, this year, the first quarter, that 94 U.S. Army personnel had taken their own life, and it jumped from 77 people in the first quarter of last year to 94. And then the next was Marine Corps, which was 8 to 14. And then I forgot what the Navy's was, but I think the Navy, Air Force, and Space Force all remained the same. But I did want to bring up Tennessee since majority of us are in Tennessee. And it just
Grant.
Losers.
So Tennessee veteran suicides. As of 2020, 182 soldiers took their life. Majority of those were actually 75 plus. And then the least were 18 to 34. Anything around 35, 54, or 55 to 74 were 42 and then 65. And comparing that to the national suicides of, I'll just put 18 and 34, national suicides were 843. So of 23 of Tennessee, there's a total of 843. And then as of 2020, 6,146 soldiers took their life, which is, it was 300 million people in the United States of America plus. But, and then for every, well, I think Jeff had said it was 37.1 of every 100,000. That's still a mass majority. And those numbers, they've taken, it was 6,000 and some change since 2001 all the way to 2020, which was the 6,146 people. And so it was around 6,000 per year soldiers took their own life. So that was that for Tennessee. And for the southern region, it was 2,643. So that's including anything from Texas, Tennessee, all the way to South Carolina and down. That's all that, which is crazy to think about how we have a third of soldier suicides in the South. So I think that was really crazy. And then I don't know how many of us are from Texas. I think
I live there.
We've all lived in Texas, but I think you and I are the
False.
ones.
Okay. Texas.
False.
Grant's the only one who's not living there.
Oh, okay.
All the cool people that lived in Texas.
Well, Texas, they did one for Texas, and it is a bigger state, especially in population. So the numbers were probably going to be higher, and which is true. 18 to 34-year-olds in Texas, 89 of them took their own life. The highest one was 55 to 74, which was 171. In total, 526 people took their own life, which in Texas is a crazy amount, especially compared because in Tennessee only 182. So that's a fifth of how much Texas was.
Yeah, it's definitely. I mean, it's affecting like every area of the country, and it is here in our southern safe, Tennessee that we deal with that. So it's all around, and I think our conversation tonight has been really helpful to think through ways to love those people.
Yeah, they're sobering statistics, and there's so many angles we could look at too. It's just a reminder again that the spiritual warfare is real, that we need to be strategically looking at opportunities to engage that culture like we would any culture. But at the end of the day, I know we talk, we're dismissive at times, and we shouldn't be, but our culture is a prayer, but we need to spend time praying for our military families. And if anything, that brings a sensitivity to our hearts, and I think really puts us in that direct conversation with God, to where Holy Spirit lays things in our hearts that we can do for our neighbors, for those people that we work with or that we encounter who may be in a military context. Great discussion tonight, guys. I know we have to wrap up here. We've had great long discussion tonight, and hey, it was great having Ethan here.
Thank you.
We're going to be praying for him as he gets ready to embark on this.
I did get news. I think I was talking to Josh about it before we started recording. I had the staff sergeant of Murfreesboro call me, and we've been, I know Olivia and I have been praying on this for a while. I think a lot of people have too. I know I'm dragging this on. I'll try to keep it short, but we've been praying that I wouldn't have to go in November, trying to aim for end of December and beginning of January. And there's one spot open, and it's December. So
awesome.
Hoping that lines up. studying and whatnot. But
Paris Island or
anything
out here in San Diego?
Anything on this side of the Mississippi is Paris Island, and then your side is going to go to San Diego. My dad went to San Diego, so but yeah.
Word.
All right.
How many push-ups can you do?
How many push-ups?
Yeah.
It's been a while. The most I've ever done was 82 in 2 minutes.
All right, prove it.
No,
prove it while we close.
Look,
Come on.
I was in ROTC
podcast. Yeah.
2 years ago. I cannot do it anymore. So
I can do like.
And you're our defender? We're paying our tax dollars for you, and you're not going to do it anymore? Excuse me.
I'm just taking photos, man. Put it
He's
on the
taking
interwebs.
pictures of the people doing push-ups.
Oh man, that looks rough.
Oh man,
It's a lot of sweat you got.
hey,
That's
hold
right.
still.
Yeah, doing so fast.
Our future.
All right, everybody. Thank you for joining all of us dudes on the Dudefax podcast. We hope we've thrown a lot of testosterone at you and that you're feeling it through the Spotify or YouTube or yeah, there's a weird stuff going on. But Grant was shirtless earlier. If you want to see that exclusive picture,
Dreams are blessed.
We'll throw it up on the Instagram story.
Dude, Erica doesn't even want to see that.
Thank you guys.
See ya.
We'll see you next week.